All right, we're going.
All right.
How's things been for you ever since I saw you last in Las Vegas?
Well, it's been fast and furious since we got home from Vegas. We took, several orders there at the show at A&ME and have come back and, got those orders collected and shipped out. We kind of finalized getting those out. Basically, we finished those up today. So we're glad for that.
Yeah, we're still working on completing everything that we started when we were there. Sometimes you
Right.
think at the end of a trade show that the work is over, but it sort of starts when you get back.
Whenever you do those shows like that, there's just so many things that go on behind the scenes that have to be done, you know, to set up for the show, to get all the samples ready and tagged and priced. And then, when you come back, getting that all organized and pulling the orders, especially when you're in the surplus business and everything's spread out from hell to high water.
Yeah,
So sometimes it's a little difficult to get it all together, but anyway, I think we've got the orders that we took at the A&ME handled, and we're moving on to the next thing.
yeah. There's nothing quite like a military surplus warehouse. You want one thing, it's buried behind 20 other things, and when you get we do a lot of different stuff here. It's not all military surplus, although that is bread and butter, so to speak. But we get orders for fuel cans, storm bags, the blankets, stuff like that. We can fulfill those same day pretty much. But when we get a whole bunch of surplus orders all at once, it's like we only got one forklift. It takes some
Yeah,
time, a lot of digging stuff out and sorting things out. And, we try our best to sort things for good quality when we first get them, separate out the number twos and things like that. But always when we pack the orders, we check again, and then usually there's a few more. And so we have to adjust stock and stuff like that.
what we've done is that I have a lady that kind of manages the order pulling and stuff. She gets it. She knows where everything is. She gets them collected. Then I have another person that's completely separate from that. And what this person does is that she double checks for make sure they all button up. They don't have any stains or holes. I'm talking about surplus stuff,
Yeah.
and to make sure that it's represented as a number one or a number two. And so we have a couple of sets of eyes, that looks at everything on the surplus side before it goes out, to make sure that we, kind of mitigate any of the returns that we might have.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of SwissLink so far that we really don't get very many returns. It's pretty rare. For the number of orders that go out, people seem to either be happy with the condition that they got it in, or at least very well informed at the point of purchase of what it's going to look like before they get it.
Yeah. What we found, Miles, is that the more information that we can give up front about the product when it's surplus, size specifications and the quality of the goods, as long as we represent it as sold, it works out real well. But if you don't put all the details in uh, on a surplus item, as long as if it's dead stock or something that's still got the labels on it, that's one thing. But something that's been reused or repurposed, we really have to check and double check it to make sure that we don't get it back.
Yeah, especially if your customer base isn't accustomed to military surplus. There's like people who know military surplus, they know what to expect. But if you're trying to reach a broader audience, you really got to put it all up front.
Exactly.
Sounds like you got a pretty good system to handle that. Um,
We're working on it, Miles.
so you had a unique opportunity to get into the military surplus business, what, about a year ago?
Exactly a year ago. Yeah.
Um, can you tell me a little bit more about like how that happened, and how you found yourself here running a
Yeah.
surplus
Yeah.
business?
Just it's from the people. It's a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. And then a business associate called me up and said, I've got a large quantity of European and American military surplus that I need to get out of my warehouse, and I need to get it out in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And it's about 15 53-foot trailer loads. And do you know where we could possibly move this? And I said, let me sleep on it. And So I decided that depending on how much room that it would take, that I would buy it. I said, well, I said, how much room is that going to take? They said 6 or 8,000 square feet. And I said, okay, that's fine. I've got that. Well, come to find out, it takes 4 times that much room.
Yeah.
That's if you have it packed into a warehouse, double and triple stacked, it'll take 6 to 8,000 square feet. But what I found out is that 350,000 pounds of surplus takes up a whole heck of a lot of room. But anyway, historically, I've been in the cut and sew business and the manufacturing business, manufacturing goods. So I know about clothing, know about quality and specifications and all that. But this was my first foray into the surplus part of the business, and it's been an eye opener. And Miles, I've got to tell you that my life has been a blur the last 12 months since I bought this stuff. I mean, just kind of getting it corralled, figuring out what we have and what we don't have, and what we do have. There's been some good surprises. There've been some bad surprises, but all in all, it's been a really great experience and and also a pretty big learning curve to boot.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on all at once.
Yeah.
You know, but you had some experience in like vintage clothing and things like that before, so I don't think it's
Well,
not
Britt,
totally.
you know what? I've always been a collector of classic Americana. I've always been a collector of Western wear, military wear, work wear, and just classic sportswear from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s. And Brent's was known for doing, really, really clean and nice reproductions of, stuff from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And quite candidly, I had somewhat retired and was just kind of, chilling out when I had this opportunity with this surplus. And like I said, this past year, it's been nothing but a blur, but I'm right back into it. And on top of that, we've decided to go back into the manufacturing of a few items, primarily, flat lock cover stitch sweatshirts and single needle blind stitch hem tees, just some, really basic classic Americana in hoodies and t-shirts.
Are you making that stuff? Excuse me. Are you making that stuff? Gosh, tickle my throat.
Yeah.
Are you making that stuff in your warehouse, or are you having it made in the
I'm
state?
actually I'm making it in a couple of different places. We're making the t-shirts out in North Carolina at a factory out there in the Carolinas. I had planned on making the sweatshirts in the Carolinas, but the factory that I was going to use that has the equipment to do the production the way that it has to be done with the flat lock cover stitch and the that equipment took a huge order from the U.S. military on some naval sweatshirts and sweatpants, and booked their production up for the next 12 months. So I've had to shift gears, and now I'm manufacturing the sweatshirts in Los Angeles, which is making them, yeah, it's making them about 25 to 30% more expensive out of the box, just because, labor in Los Angeles and on the West Coast is just, well, as you well know, that, where you are, it's just, everything costs more in California.
Everything costs more. We get hit with a lot more taxes. Cost of living is higher. Base wages are higher. Everything's higher.
Right.
But it's a nice place to live. So you win
I
some.
lived in San Diego for 3 years. I had a company that Buck Knife bought in the late '80s, and I lived in La Jolla for about a year and a half.
Yeah, we're up north. We're in Chico, which is like north of Sacramento. So it's about a 10-hour drive down to LA, but
Oh yeah, it's good little hike.
different part of California. A little bit
Uh,
different culture up here, but California nonetheless. It's a beautiful area. One of these days, you have to come out and check it out. I'll show you what
I'd
our
love to.
house
Well,
looks like.
thanks. I appreciate the invite, and I will next time I'm on the West Coast, I'll make we'll plan it where we can spend about a day or half a day together and kind of look and see what you guys have got going on in your place.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Uh, some time ago, we had decided to skip the trade shows and instead put a lot of focus into just meeting with people one on one. Either traveling to go see them or inviting people out to come see us, and kind of use that same money and energy that we would have otherwise done to the trade show with just some personal connection building, which is great. But because of that, it had been quite a while since we'd been back to the ANME, the Army Navy Military Expo there in Las Vegas. And actually, last year when we met was the first year that we'd been back in, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 years.
Right.
Um, and I was really pleasantly surprised to see a bunch of new faces and all the same old faces, and stuff is still happening, and nobody's
Yeah.
forgotten about us yet. So we're still here. We're still doing stuff.
The guys that originated that show back in when they first started it 17 or 18 years ago is is Dave Crouch and Brett Kimmel that kind of had the idea, and then they sold it to the other people. That it's the show is jointly owned by several people in the surplus industry, from what I understand. But those guys, Brett and Dave, were sales reps for me in the company that I sold the Buck knives back in the late '80s and early '90s. So, like I said, I've been in the apparel business since '73, and which is kind of tells you how old I am. But '73, I was 18, so like I'm pushing 70 now. But anyway, I've got a long and storied uh, career and quite a colorful history in the apparel business. And I was the original manufacturer for Supreme, which I ran goods for Supreme for about 12 years, primarily their sweats and tees, a lot of jackets and pants and workwear for them. And the Brents brand actually is still licensed in Japan, in the Japanese market. We're really strong in Japan. And so we continue to do business with the Japanese, and learned a lot about quality from the Japanese, because they're really, really tenacious when it comes to, you know, exacting specifications, as you well know.
Yeah, well, I think that's the reason why they're, outside of what we do here in the States, they're some of our largest customers. Are a lot of our stuff gets imported from Europe and then exported straight back out to Japan,
Exactly.
because it's quality stuff, and they recognize and appreciate that.
Sure.
I was just talking to Luke from One Thief Surplus the other day about quality in general coming from the military, and it's like a fun complaint for Army guys to say, "Oh, our gear sucks, our gear's falling apart." They're cheaping out on us, whatever. But I mean, compare that to anything in the outdoor industry. It's there's just no comparison. I mean, the stuff that we get, particularly from older times, like some of that Cold War stuff, is just built to last a lifetime or more.
What else, the way I define that, and what, when people ask me about how do you, one of the things that were made back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, was, number one, Miles, they didn't have the automatic equipment. Every piece was kind of the signature piece. There weren't, welt pocket machines. There weren't automatic pocket setters. There weren't, you know, uh, single needle machines with a automatic thread trimmer on it and things of that nature. So things nowadays, when you manufacture them, especially in the fast fashion business, it's sort of, get in and get out as quick as you can. The military stuff, and the reason the quality in that stuff is so good, is because they would run large contracts on that stuff. They would run thousands and thousands of pieces of, say, just for an example, like an M65 field jacket. Somebody's running like Alpha's running an M65 field jacket, and they're running, 50,000 of them. You can get pretty good at manufacturing those, and you get pretty efficient at it. And so all of the qualities that they used in the government inspectors were just really pretty strict about quality, and about, from the fabric, from the buttons to the zip, all in the trim and everything was always, very quality driven by, any. And I found in all of the, I haven't found one European supplier that's quality has been really bad from in all the surplus, that I bought this last year when I bought the I Goldberg goods. The stuff is just gorgeously made. The fabrics are nice. The stitching's nice. Everything's really, really good. The only problem we have is trying to convert the sizes from European sizes into the American sizes. And then all only having, like, when we get down to the nitty gritty, we've got, 28s, 30s, 32s, and 34s in the waste, and smalls and mediums and larges, and very few extra larges and stuff in surplus. And that kind of leads into the fact is why years ago I went into the manufacturing side of it, because people just could not get, for example, the basic four pocket OG 107 fatigue, the cotton fatigue. They wanted to get all sizes, and so we're making that cotton fatigue now in all sizes, and we stock at the OG 107. So we have those. We're making those and keeping those in stock.
That's great. Yeah, there's a good reason sometimes to make a reproduction. We do a couple of reproductions here, one of which
Right.
is the Swiss blanket, which is one of the most sought after, original military blankets, the Swiss Army blanket. Um, and we used to sell boatloads of them, quite literally, several shipping containers
I,
worth
I,
at a
I
time.
understand. I
And
understand.
now you can't find them at all except for maybe, $150 on eBay, one at a time, something like that.
Yeah.
So, we went out of our way to take the time and find a quality manufacturer that can make something that we're proud to put our label on and call it
Absolutely.
quality reproduction. I mean, there's a lot of repros out there, but they don't all match the original quality. So if you've got that real reason to do it, I think it's great. I don't have any problem with reproductions.
Yeah.
Some people can be a little bit, I don't
Well,
know what it is, but
yeah.
elitist about original stuff. Sometimes.
No, it'll wear you out trying to get, just to make sure that that everybody in the down the line, takes care of business and makes sure that nothing falls through the cracks as far as as far as the manufacturing goes. And it's just as a guy that I first worked for long ago, Ray Morris at Shreveport Garment, he said, take care of the little things and the big things will take care of themselves. And so we try to take care of the little things and not neglect the little things. And then as we take care of those little things and take care of business every day, things, seem to fall into place pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, start with a good product and make sure the quality is there, and everything else will follow.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to pick your brain more sometime about just manufacturing. I'm very interested in American manufacturing having a somewhat of a revival. I don't know to what degree
Well,
that's going to happen, but some people are hopeful about it. Some people are not. But
Well, I've owned three garment factories in the United States, and I had one in California that was called Surfwear Manufacturing, and made color block shorts and different things and did contract work for a lot of the surf companies, and had a brand name called Marine Biology. And, but what's happened is that all of the people that own the sewing factories in the United States have, it's just a matter of human resources, of finding the people that actually can operate a sewing machine and can, go, some of the operations are somewhat difficult, fell seams, flat lock cover stitch, even as simple as sewing on labels correctly and stuff to where it looks nice and neat. So, you just can't pull somebody off the street and put them behind a sewing machine and turn them loose. I mean, there's training on it, as you well know. So that's what we run into here in the United States. Now, I would love to make more stuff here in the States, but it's just hard to find the sewing factory to be able to do it. And then to be able to do it at a price where we can turn around and resell it, to
right,
where people were like, "What in the world are you talking about? A sweatshirt for $125?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's $125."
yeah, that's what I thought. There's no room to shoot that price. Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah. There's people out there that'll pay for that Made in America label, no problem. But that is certainly not everybody. And like you said, it's a skilled labor. It's not something that you can just if I said I want to open up a factory and start making clothes, like, geez Louise, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I wouldn't know how to find anybody that knows anything.
I know enough about it, Miles, to where I don't want to own another factory, and because I just don't want to have the headaches of all the people. I'd rather. And what I've found is that if I can find someone that is really good at a certain uh, product, that I know what my costs are, my cutting cost, my sew cost, and everything. So I have my known cost in there. When you own a factory of your own, you're not running efficiently and everything. You really don't know what your costs are. If you're not getting goods out and you're not running your factory efficiently, you can lose a lot of money real fast.
Yeah, without realizing it, without some pretty
You really can, because if you don't get those goods out and ship them, and you've still got all that labor and all that other overhead that's going on, so it's really, it's not for the weak of heart. Let me tell you that right now.
yeah. Yeah, we're doing so much now with blankets. There was a time when I was like, maybe I look into some of those, big weavers, and they are not cheap. I'll tell you that. And there's a lot to do and a lot to learn. And
Yeah,
we've got a very very good relationship with a reputable factory now in India, and that's where the wool's coming from anyway, and it makes sense.
sure.
Uh, One day, maybe in the future, we'll see.
Right.
But see what the
Well,
future.
tell me a little bit about what you've got going on. I know I worked with your dad when I first bought the surplus. I met your dad, and we talked a little bit. And now you've come on board and started taking the reins over. What's going on with Swiss Link, and where you guys headed?
Yeah, well, my dad started Swisslink back in 1996. Actually, Swisslink.com was a website, I think, in the 90s. It's been around for a long time. It's kind of an early
Yeah.
adopter in the e-commerce there. But yeah, so he started with doing just Swiss goods. He had a connection with the Swiss military when they were downsizing their forces. There was
Mhm.
surplus coming out of Switzerland for a while, and so
Mhm.
business around just bringing that stuff in,
Mhm.
yet to sporting goods stores and Army Navy goods stores across.
Yeah.
And over the years, some other product lines have kind of popped up based around the idea of reproductions. So the blankets, also the NATO fuel cans. That's another thing we used to sell a ton of, were the
Mhm.
NATO issue jerry cans, but they're not legal for fuel in the States, and there's a lot of regulations to get those through properly. And also the supply sort of dries up on those eventually. So Maurice actually found the factory that manufactures them for the NATO forces in Latvia. And so now
Mhm.
we're getting those brought over under the brand name Wavian, which is actually a company in the UK. Um, we've got fuel cans now, which is, gosh, probably 50% of the business at the moment,
Mhm.
bringing in those fuel cans. Blankets, a couple other new products, and then, of course, the surplus. Um, in 2018, there was a big fire that burnt down Paradise, California, which is where,
I remember that.
yeah, that's where I grew up. That's where the business was. Long story short, started from scratch.
So
For
you
that,
you lost everything in the fire then.
warehouse burnt down, office burnt down, and
Oh my gosh, I
with the
didn't realize
exception
that.
of one employee, everyone else's houses also burnt down, including mine and my father's and everybody else's.
Oh
It
my
was kind
goodness.
of brutal. um,
I can only imagine. It's really, that is brutal, but yeah.
Before that, I was doing graphic design. Graduated with a degree in graphic design from Chico State here. That's kind of I always say my first love is typography of all things. So that's kind of where my interests lie. And I used to work, for Swisslink part time. Um, I would do kind of summer work as a kid and helped him out with the website and pictures and stuff like that, doing some photography.
Sure.
But after the fire, there was a moment where he was just thinking about calling it quits for good. It's kind of, you've
Mhm.
got 20 years worth of, I guess at that point, 25 years worth of goods collected. You save all the best stuff, and you've got like 40,000 square feet of amazing surplus, and just to lose it all overnight is kind of a rough
Yeah.
swallow. And I decided at that point that I would jump into the business full time and help him rebuild. There was a couple of containers on the way that needed to be received. There was a container full of fuel cans and a container of surplus. So it was like either he needs to turn those around or find somebody to buy them, or we would find a warehouse, receive those containers, and just kind of start over.
Good.
So since then, I've been involved full time, and we've got our own warehouse now. We've got a warehouse full of surplus again. We've got all the other brands running full speed. So I'm pretty proud of what we've done in the last 6 years,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I only see good things in the future. I want to grow relationships with everybody. It's kind of funny going to that expo. Everybody knows Maurice so well because he was involved back when it was ASD, before it switched over to the Army Navy military. So, and I'm just trying to get to know everybody at a sort of more personal level. It's part of the reason why I'm doing this too, just to kind of strengthen my connection with everyone in the industry and kind of keep
Well,
people connected.
my hat's off to you for making the effort, for doing it, and getting doing the podcast and doing the videos you're doing. I think it's admirable. I really think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the industry, for sure. I would be considered one of the old timers. Like I said a moment ago, I'm pushing 70. I'll be 70 in about a month, and I did the ASD show and did all those shows and been around and done it. And like I said, I'd kind of semi-retired and gotten back into it. And it's given me kind of a new lease on life, kind of a new excitement about what's going on in the industry. And like you are, I'm enjoying getting to know, reintroducing myself to some of the older people out there, like Peter at P&A and, those guys. And with Jerry Alexander. I used to call on Jerry Alexander as a road rep when I was selling on the road. Back in the '80s. At GI Joe's and stuff. So it's really. I noticed that Jerry wasn't at the show this time. His grandson was there, and Michael, and it's good getting to meet his grandson and knowing that I did business with Jerry Alexander 30 35 years ago and everything. So, and it's the same thing. I noticed that Rothko's still around. Back when Milton Somberg that started Rothko, believe it or not, I used to make kids woodland camouflage uh, youth fatigue shirts and pants for Rothko. And that was back in the '80s. So I just a lot of memories come flooding back when I get back into the surplus arena. But things have changed. In the manufacturing side, they've changed a lot, and I'm getting a whole new education about the surplus industry and about what it takes to be successful in the surplus business. And it's like I said a moment ago, it's not for the weak of heart. I mean, you've got to really have some staying power, and uh, you know, and also you've got what I've learned. You've got to have just a few good people, that can help you take care of take care of those little things that I was talking about a while ago. Making sure that we take care of those little things, and then educating the people within my company that work within the Brents warehouse, within the Brents companies, you know, making sure that they share the same vision that I do about how we do things and how we take care of business and how we take care of customers and how we represent ourselves. And so it's sort of a culture that we have built, and we're rebuilding that culture on the surplus side of the industry. But as far as the manufacturing goes, we were always known as a very high quality, manufacturer for Brent Sportswear. And because, that was mainly because I was doing so much business with the Japanese. Like I said a minute ago, that the Japanese are just so, detail oriented that, you have to dot the I's and cross the T's, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. There's a high threshold for excellence there, which is great, and that's why military surplus aligns perfectly with all of that too.
It really does. It really, really does.
Well, Stephen, I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been cool. Um, I know that you're probably as busy as I am, so I'll let you get back to it. But let's do this again. I'd love to connect again if you ever want to come out. If you ever find yourself in California, let me know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I will be in Los Angeles, which is down south, but I'll also have business in Fresno, and I'll be in LA, then Fresno, and next time I come out, I'd love to give you a little bit of notice and see if we can't be able to meet at your warehouse, and and kind of get to know each other a little bit better and see what else we can do together, or anything that we can work together on.
yeah, yeah. I love collaborating. I love doing projects together as much as we can. As a small industry, I think we ought to all work together and know each other well. And
Yes, sir.
it's one of those places where I think, competition is a good word, not necessarily a bad one. Because
No,
there's
I don't.
it's all
I've never.
limited stuff, and that everybody's got. Not everybody has the same lot of Flecktarn parkas, right? Like if I got Flecktarn parkas and you got Flecktarn parkas, probably not the same size, probably not the same condition. The important thing is that we get people to love Flecktarn parkas.
There you go. Exactly.
Rising tide
Right.
sort of thing. So,
Well, Miles, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for setting it up. I apologize for missing uh, yesterday or whatever day it was. But anyway, I got my days mixed up just a little bit, but we got it. We made it happen. So
yeah.
appreciate it. Good talking to you. And I look forward to talking to you soon and seeing you soon.
All right. Likewise.
Thanks a bunch. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye bye.